Just imagine a planet, maybe one like Earth, or maybe a giant like Jupiter, just drifting through space in total darkness. There's no sun to warm it, no star to orbit, it's just wandering, completely alone. Now, this isn't just science fiction. These things are real, and as it turns out, our galaxy is absolutely full of them.
And when I say full, I really mean it. Some of the latest estimates are suggesting there could be, well, not just billions, but maybe even trillions of these nomad worlds out there in the Milky Way. Think about that for a second. They could actually outnumber all the planets that are in solar systems like ours. It's just staggering.
So, what exactly is a rogue planet? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a world that's just moving through space completely untethered. It could be rocky, icy, a gas giant, you name it. The one thing it doesn't have is a parent star. They really are the galaxy's orphans, its true wanderers.
Okay, so if there are trillions of them, the next big question is, where do they all come from? And this is one of the biggest cosmic mysteries out there right now. It really boils down to two main ideas. Were they kicked out of their homes, or did they never even have a home in the first place?
So here are the two competing theories. The first one is the cosmic orphan idea. This says they were born in a totally normal and probably pretty chaotic young solar system, and then they got violently booted out by the gravity of bigger planets. But the other idea is that they were born free, that they formed all by themselves from a collapsing cloud of gas and dust, kind of like a tiny star that just didn't have enough stuff to ignite.
And you know, this whole ejection theory, it isn't just a theory. It almost certainly happened right here, in our own solar system. This quote pretty much says it all. Our solar system probably started out with 5 giant planets, not 4. And during that chaotic early phase, Jupiter's huge gravity just flung one of them, an ice giant, like a cousin to Uranus or Neptune, out into deep space. So yeah, somewhere out there is our solar system's long-lost sibling.
For a while, that story seemed to make sense. You know, most of these rogues were probably just ejected orphans. But the more we learn, the more data we get, the case is getting, well, a lot more complicated.
This is the question that astronomers are wrestling with right now, because when they actually run the simulations and look at the numbers, a really big problem starts to show up. Can that ejection theory really account for the sheer number of rogue planets we think are out there?
And this is where it gets super tricky. The math just doesn't seem to work. Even if you imagine that every single solar system was a chaotic mess, kicking out planets left and right, it still doesn't produce enough orphans to explain those trillions of wanderers. Something else has to be going on. There's a piece of the puzzle we're missing.
And this brings us to this incredible, mind-bending new idea. What if many of these planets aren't actually rogue at all? What if they're still technically orbiting their parent star, but they're on these enormous, ridiculously wide orbits, hundreds of times farther out than the Earth is from the Sun, that they just look like they're all alone?
So yeah, here's the kicker. About half of the planets we've been calling free-floating might just be detached. They're not truly rogue, they're just on such a ridiculously long leash that, to us, they look completely alone. Their star is just too far away for our current telescopes to connect the dots.
So how do we figure this out? How can we possibly find these dark, invisible worlds and tell if they're truly rogue or just really far from home? Well, you need some very clever detective work.
The main tool we have is something called gravitational microlensing, and it is absolutely brilliant. Basically, as one of these invisible planets drifts in front of a distant star, its gravity literally bends space-time around it, and it acts like a magnifying glass. So for a few hours, or maybe a few days, that background star will suddenly appear to get brighter, telling us that an unseen planet just drifted by.
And here, you can see exactly what astronomers are looking for. Watch how the light from that faraway star gets bent and focused by the passing planet. From where we're sitting, it creates this brief, unmistakable spike in brightness. It's like a tiny flash in the dark that screams, "Hey, a hidden world is right here!"
And the hunt for these worlds is about to get a serious upgrade. NASA's new Roman Space Telescope is basically designed to do this kind of work. It's going to be staring at hundreds of millions of stars, and it's expected to find so many of these microlensing events that it'll give us a rogue planet census that's at least 10 times more precise than anything we have today. It's going to be a total game changer.
So once we start finding all these worlds, the questions are just going to get bigger. We've talked about where they come from, but what are they actually like? And that brings us to the most exciting question of all. Could a world that's wandering in the cold and the dark actually support life?
I know, it sounds completely impossible, right? I mean, with no sun, the surface temperature would be near absolute zero. Any air it had would just freeze solid and fall like snow. But life is incredibly creative, and scientists have some really fascinating ideas.
You see, the key thing to remember is that life doesn't strictly need sunlight. What it needs is energy and liquid water. A big rogue planet could easily have a liquid ocean hiding under a thick shell of ice, and that ocean could be kept warm by heat radiating out from the planet's own core. That could create hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, just like the ones we have here on Earth that support entire ecosystems in total blackness.
And that just leaves us with this one last huge idea to chew on. We spend so much time and energy looking for life on Earth-like planets orbiting sun-like stars. But
What if life can actually thrive in the endless night of a rogue planet? And what if there are trillions of these worlds out there? It makes you wonder, are we even looking in all the right places? These lonely wanderers might just be the most common place for life in the entire galaxy.